Hello everyone and welcome back to the semifinals of the 2020 Chessable Masters. It's the third match between Anish Giri and Yanni Pomnici, and as we've already seen, Nepo won the first match, Giri won the first match, then Nepo retaliated in the second match, and now we have the third one. And the third one was also a crazy one, because like the previous two, it consists of 4 rapid games and 2 blitz games. And if those 6 games end in a tie, then we go into Armageddon. And in the first game, Nepo took the lead by winning game 1. However, he blundered a piece in game 2, which means that Giri equalized. Game 3 and 4 of the rapids ended in a draw, and game 5, which is the first game of the blitz, ended also in a draw. So this is game 6 that we're showing, and if this game also ends in a draw, then we go into Armageddon. Giri has the white pieces. Let's see what happens. And it's actually a very long theoretical struggle, plus also a blitz game, so we will not be over analyzing anything. So Giri goes for d4 and knight to f6 by Nepo. We have knight to f3, g6 now, preparing to go for some sort of an Indian defense, g3 and bishop to g7 now. We have bishop to g2 and d5 by Nepo. We have castles, and now Nepo also castles. We have c4 by Giri, and with c6 we transpose into the Neo-Grunfeld defense. We have queen to b3 and queen to b6. Now it's very interesting. Nepo plays this defense quite a lot. He had it plenty of times against some very strong players, and Giri of course knows this, as both Giri and Nepo are part of the 2020 candidates tournament, and of course they had to prepare for each other. So here, knight to c3, continuing development, and rook to d8. We have a standard case where white wants black to capture and black wants white to capture, so either white or black gets the semi-open a file for their rooks. So bishop to d2, neither player interested in capturing. We have d captures on c4, queen captures, and bishop to e6. Now going after the queen, queen to a4, and now bishop to f5. So like we said, this is a very long theoretical struggle. All of these moves are well known and already have been played. And Nepo had this position against both Karakin, Tomaszewski, and Mamedyarov, and Nepo actually never lost a game in this position. And the known moves here are rook f to e1, rook f to d1. Also a known move is queen to a3, but the move Giri plays is a new move in the position. He actually plays rook f to c1, which means that he came prepared for this. He knows that Nepo is well versed in this line, and it is as of move 12 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Nepo deals with this rook f to c1 novelty. We have knight b to d7, he just continues developing, and now b4 by Giri. We have knight to e4, going for some trades, opening up the diagonal for his dark square bishop. We have e3, trying to give up the dark square bishop here, but this dark square bishop is a bad bishop in this position. He's not really doing all that much. All of white's pawns are on dark squares, so it doesn't really make sense to eliminate the bishop. So instead, Nepo goes for the knight. We have bishop captures on c3, and now bishop to e4. Now the knight will have some problems reaching e5, or if it does, you can always just trade bishops. Nepo does have the black pieces. He never lost a game in this line, and he's feeling very comfortable playing it, well, just reaching Armageddon if needed. So queen back to b3, getting the queen to a much more useful diagonal. Also maybe a4, a5 is an idea in the future. So bishop d5, kicking the queen away, but queen to c2, and now knight to f6, getting the knight to a much nicer square. Also knight to e4, bishop to e4 is an option. Like if you make a silly move, like let's say rook b1, you can easily win by bishop e4. So knight to e5, getting a knight to this beautiful central outpost and offering a trade of bishops, which Nepo goes for. We have captures, and now knight to d5, just going after the dark square bishop here, but also preparing to capture on e5, which would mess up white's pawn structure. So here Giri goes back for the moment, knight to d3. The knight can also find a very nice outpost on c5, and queen to c7 now. We have a4, starting the expansion on the queen side, and now rook 8 to c8. At some point b6, c5 might be a possibility. So rook 8 to b1, and now h5 by Nepo. He wants to play h4 and bust open the position. So Giri goes h3, and Nepo continues with h4. He sacrifices a pawn to open up the white king, and Giri says, okay, Fair enough, he plays g captures on h4, and now bishop to f6, just going after his pawn. He opened up Giri's king, and now he is ready to attack. Problem is, he doesn't have anything to attack with. The knight doesn't really have a good way of joining the attack, and also the rooks. However, king g7 followed by rook to h8, and then maybe doubling rooks on the h-file does seem to be a possibility. But here, Giri goes h5, and now it's Giri who's threatening to also open up this this g file, and when the knight moves, the queen can also easily join the action. So Nepo here goes for g5. He doesn't want to open it up. And now knight to c5. Giri is now preparing to bring the knight to e4 to do some damage over on the king's side. So king g7, preparing to bring the rooks over to the h-file and maybe pick up the h5 pawn, and now knight to e4. Now you could be considering something like captures, but also if your pawn is under attack, you can just easily defend it with knight to g3. So you are in no rush. This bishop isn't really going anywhere. So rook to h8, and now as the pawn is under attack, queen to e2, defending it while getting the queen to where the action is. Rook to h6, Nepo prepares to double up with rook c to h8, and now b5 by Giri, saying that I would very much enjoy if this opens up, since I do have a rook lined up with your queen. So rook c to h8, Nepo continues going after the h-pawn, and now knight to g3. So Giri always kept his options here with the knight. The knight could have gone anywhere, but the knight now will come to g3. So knight g3, defending the h5 pawn, and with the knight defending the h5 pawn, which is on a light square, and this knight has no clear way of helping out with the attack, the two rooks on the h-file are for the moment rendered useless. So e6 by Nepo, and now bishop to d2. Not allowing this capture. You might want to use the bishop later on in the game, and also if you're interested in playing something like e4, you don't want to play something like e4 and run into knight f4, knight f fork in this in this occasion. So after e6, bishop back to d2. Now this will be a possibility as the bishop covers the f4 square, and bishop to e7 now. We have b captures on c6, we have b captures on c6, and now Giri goes for probably the simplest way of how to attack this weak pawn, queen to a6. And now there is no good defense against just rook captures on c6. The knight cannot go anywhere to help out with the defense. And you don't have any other options. You could try something like e5, but that just seems a bit too ambitious, as you cannot release the hold you have, a grip rather, on the f5 square, as knight f5 check just destroys everything. So after queen a6, Nepo says, okay, we have to part with this pawn, but we are going to collect another one. So queen d8. And here Giri just captures it. Queen captures on c6, and now as the bishop no longer is blocking the knight on f6, knight f6 now, adding a triple attacker to the h5 pawn. However, rook to b7. Giri goes after the a7 pawn, and also just puts the rook on the 7th rank, which is always very useful. Nepo says, okay, time to eliminate some pawns here. We have knight captures on h5, and now rook to d7. Getting the queen away, but also just preparing d5, which is very important, as d5 frees up this diagonal. You want to get your bishop to c3 and really do some damage here. So queen to f8 by Nepo, and now d5, opening up this diagonal, and there is no good way to keep it closed. You could try something like e5, but it's not really something. Again, knight f5 just eliminates black. You can never do this. So here we have knight captures on g3 first, eliminating this threat of knight f5 forever, but now f captures on g3. We have rook captures on h3, and now, there's not much to be done. I'm sure you all guys, all of you see what's happening here. Bishop to c3 check. There's not much Nepo can do here, but it's still very interesting. For example, if f6, then just queen captures on e6, and it seems like you've defended, but there's no defense against just captures bishop, and that's the game. You do have one check, but after this, king f3, and there are no more. Well, there are no more useful checks after g4, king e4, and that's it with the checks. So instead, after bishop to c3 check, Nepo says, okay, I'm not touching the f-pawn, king g6, But now bishop captures on h8. We have queen captures on h8, and now you have this position. You know you're better, however, it's important to win, not to be better. So feel free to pause the video and find the winning move for Giri while I give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting the only move that wins. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's not rook captures on e7. If you capture this, then you allow black to form a drawing pattern. Rook h2 check, king g1, and now queen here will force you to go for some sort of a repetition, because if not, it's actually white who's getting checkmated. You cannot block, the c2 square is guarded twice. So here you would have to go into something like captures, captures, captures with check, and then be happy with a repetition of moves and claiming a draw. So to those of you who found d captures on e6, congratulations, as this is now the only move that wins. Now the point is, you are threatening this discovery with check, and then just all of the lines and files open up in front of the black king. So here Nepo went for rook to h2 check, king to g1, and now you see the point of this capture. The queen now guards the h1 square. That's the point. And now there is no rook to h1, and there is no way for Nepo to continue checking the white king. So here f5 was played by Nepo. There is no good try. If you try saving the bishop, you move the bishop, this comes with a discovery, then you just it just falls apart. So here Nepo tried f5, but this comes with the price of a bishop. So rook captures on e7, and now rook to h3. Nepo now is well, not threatening much, but queen captures on g3. You kind of don't wanna meet this. So it's actually a forced checkmate in 8, but it's not a very fancy checkmate. It starts with a check, so I'm not gonna ask you to pause the video and find it. However, it is a lovely one, so we're just gonna show it. So here, of course, it starts with a nice check, queen e8 check, king f6, rook f7 check. Now the king hunt begins, king e5, rook to c5 with check, queen b5 is also an option. We have rook to c5 with check, king to e4, and now queen to c6 with check. We have king captures on e3, and now rook to e5 check. And it was in this position on move 48 that Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned the game, and with it the match, as there is nothing more to be done here. After king d2 is played, rook d7 will be checkmate, as there is nowhere for the black king to hide. So yeah, really exciting stuff. First Giri wins, then Nepo retaliates in the second match, and then Giri wins the first one, the third one, and as Giri said in an interview after the game, it was destiny for him to meet Magnus Carlsen in the finals, but we will have to see, was it only his destiny to meet him in the finals, or was it also his destiny to beat him in the finals? So we're going to cover that tomorrow and in the following days, that the finals will be played out. And, well, I'm very much looking forward to that, so hopefully you guys are as well. So yeah, that's the game and the coverage of the semifinals. I would like to thank Abdullah Rajeh, Nitya Shah, Mark Steinhardt, Greg Robinson, and Eddie Sphere for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing with the coverage of the Chessable Masters 2020, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day, and a big happy birthday to George, who turns 39 today. See you guys soon.